There you go. So once again, welcome everybody to our session on UiPath's agentic automation capabilities and opportunities. So this is one of our part of our Women in Automation series. So very happy to be here and share the little bit of knowledge on agentic automation. So as you all know, agentic automation is one of the buzz of today's industry. So it's always very exciting to learn about agentic AI and agentic automation and what it has to offer. So, as you all have seen, like Diana, thank you for organizing this. She's our America's community manager who's been like helping with all the series. So, she's the pillar for this series to happen. And myself, I'm Priyadarshini Esteves. I'm a six-time UiPath MVP, and I'm also a RPA solution architect. So, I've been in the industry for over a decade, and I'm excited to learn every new technology that comes along AI. I'm glad you all are sticking around. So for today, we'll see like what do we mean by agents and what are the basic components that comprise the agent? And what can agents offer? What could they do? And how can they deliver into our automation suite using the AI tools? And towards the end, we want to see like how we can take this back and see how you can apply this to your day-to-day work. So you need to look for opportunities where this agent could help you. So, when we talk about agents, agents are the terms that is used to define an algorithm that basically runs the process in a loop. And this loop runs in three stages. Basically, the first one being the perception, reading, seeing, understanding. And the second stage is the reasoning. So, whatever the information that was perceived is now being processed. And the third stage is basically taking action on those perceived data that has been captured. So agents are basically like very autonomous, can make their own decisions, and they are more goal based. So they can take a look at big picture rather than like detailing, giving them very step by step rigorous instructions. So that's where the agents come into play that can handle very complex tasks based on your big picture goals. And agents are basically driven by the generative AI and the large language models that are available. So basically, you could use any natural language processing to define your big picture, and that way they can take those decisions and act instantly. And where could you use these agents? So when we talk about the application of agents, these agents are very adaptable to small changes. So in your process, they can easily learn and being adaptable to your process. And when we talk about agents, it's also very key to understand how do they play with robots. So because we all have robots in our environment today, and these robots are very rule-based and predictable, and they give you very deterministic decisions. So these robots are very rigorously written, where you lay out the rules, and this is how your robot is going to perform. So which is why it's like very highly reliable and efficient as well. But when it comes to agents, agents are goal based. So you just have to give them what your goal is, like define them with the natural language, and that can help the agent act independently. And they can make their own decisions very autonomously. That's why the agents are very easy to adapt to any situation. So, like based on your process, if you define that this is your goal, that gives the agents an easy adaptability. And basically, here are the four components of agents where we have the four basic pillars, I'd like to call them, the natural language prompt. So to define an agent, you need to give them what do you expect out of that agent. So that's where you give the instructions, your prompt. Basically, you're just defining what's your goal for that agent. So once you define, that can be used as your user prompt and give them like samples on how to perform. So that's where your natural language prompt comes in. And then you give the context. So the context basically serves as the memory. So it could be either short-term or long-term memory that can be used to inform the plan. So this is basically helping the natural language prompt to act according to the prompt that was given. And then we leverage the tools in the UiPath platform. So the UiPath platform offers you activities, the automation, or you could call another agent to be a part of your super agent, because these are tools that could make your agent act more efficiently and more adaptable as well. And then comes the fourth main pillar, which is the escalation. So within the UiPath Agentic Automation, you could define your plan for escalation. You could basically say, use the action center because that's where the humans come in. Humans are part of the agent when the agent cannot make that decision or needs more information in order to understand that process. There's the part where you let the humans control it and you specify the arguments or the input or the output. So these are basically helpful using the action centers or the action apps and the communication channels. And again, feel free to use the chat in order to share your thoughts about the agentic automation because this is definitely a very useful topic, especially with our organizations looking at the agentic automation. And some of the benefits when we talk about these AI agents are they are very good at making improved decisions because like when they run in these loops, the perception is what it captures the data because as it captures the data, it keeps running on the same three-stage loop, the perception, reasoning, and taking the action. Because as it reads over a time period, it can make improved decisions. Because when the humans step in and provide this is the direction that you need to go, that helps the agent perform better. And also, it's definitely like cost efficient and it improves constantly using the learning process. Because as you go through each learning cycle, the agents perform better. And this gives you a better enhanced customer experience because once you interact with the agent could act more faster and very instantaneous in order to make the resolutions. So that's why the customer experience is more efficient when it comes to using an agent. And obviously, since you're going to be using one agent like focused on one specific, process, or you could have like multiple different agents working on a single process, that way it's easily scalable and also flexible. And we'll talk about the scope of AI agents as well, so that way you understand how you could implement these agents as well. And when we use the agentic automation, these are very helpful to build these complex workflows. And because, like, when you build complex workflows, there are going to be different variations or different setup of your process itself. So that's where the agents can easily adapt to those variations based on your process because you could have one vendor sending you an invoice in a certain way and there'll be like five other vendors that have their own way to send it, or they could share you via email or they send it to you via system. So these are like different variations of a single process that could perform differently. So that's where these agents can easily adapt to any of these complex workflow. And it's very easy to make those autonomous decision making because right now with the robots we give them a task and they basically follow the instructions that we're given, and those instructions are the rule plan for the robots. And when it comes to agents, they can make those decisions, the smaller decisions where you could give the agent a plan to say like if these are the prompts that are being asked, you could make this decision, and you can make them like independent active agents involving the humans as well, which is where the escalation plan comes into picture, where you could send an action item to the action through the action center to the human as well. And these agents are very like autonomous that they can easily learn and they can self heal as well, because this becomes a collaborative effort where you help the agent learn using your information or your input as a human, and that's how it can like continuously improve as an agent. And scalability of AI. So an agent not only like uses its own tools, like it can expand, and any other like AI tools that are available can also be incorporated. So that way you can increase the responsiveness and the timing and make it more competitive for your specific business process. So I'm going to just show you a quick example on how this agentic automation process can fit in your world. Okay, so we're going to talk about a quick vendor processing invoices. And here we also have robots and agents working hand in hand. So first step, the invoice is being created and it's being sent to the robot where the robot reviews the invoice. Okay, like once you define what are the steps that the robot need to review, it basically performs the action that the robot was defined with. The first thing that it does is two-way matching of the vendor invoice against the purchase order that is given. And then it uses a model like DocPath to process this invoice. Once it is done, it passes that information to the agent. Now, the agent has the skill to make its own decisions to investigate whether this dispute is true or not. So, it uses the context that it was provided with, basically the policy documents or any exceptions or any constraints that it has been placed with. Using that context or given that knowledge base that it's been given with, it basically contacts the human, involves the help, and gets additional information. And then the agent can easily pass on this information now that it has performed its specific task. So as you can see, there are two agents. So even for this process, you can specify what your agent scope is. In this case, the agent dispute investigation, it's basically to investigate like whether this dispute is true or not. And then there's another agent that performs the resolution itself. So now that this second agent has received the information, it can use the tools that it has, communicates to the vendor, gets additional information, and it also receives the approval from the human. So that way, there is always a supervision in this cycle where the humans tell whether this is a good resolution or not. Even though the agents can make those decisions, you can still present it to the humans and make those important decisions. And then finally, it passes the information over to the robot, finally, which can be uploaded to its own financial accounting. So basically, uploading these records into the ERP system. That way, the end to end process is covered using the robot and the agent. So start thinking about this as your basic seed idea and thinking about processes that you are using where the agents could come into play along with your robots and the humans in action. So that way, like you have everybody in the same loop. And these agents could help you a lot of time in terms of like making those simple decisions and giving the complex decisions back to the humans. Now we'll talk about identifying the opportunities. I know at the pillars we talked about, the scope of responsibility and all the information that we shared. So one of the key ideas here is to share what is the scope, okay? So when you talk about agents, the scope could be varied, where you could say like I could give an end-to-end business process to one agent and let it do all the steps. But the recommended approach here is to have a controlled agency because these agents are, defined or meant to tackle only non-deterministic tasks that can have different variations in your process because you could handle the same process in multiple different ways. So that's why you can have a specific controlled agency that works, like specifically for that business process. That way, you do one specific narrow task, it can be evaluated against with effective the human review as well. But in the future, there will be full agency where a single agent can have this large scope or responsibility. But since we are in the infancy stages of the agentic AI, I would highly recommend using the controlled agency for that specific scope of process. And here's the opportunities that we do have in our process where, like you could think about all the different agents that could come into different industries as well. So there are thousands of use case. When we started the RPA journey, people were thinking about how what do I automate. So there were like process discovery workshops that were done in order to identify what process do I need to automate, because when people think about their day-to-day work, they don't realize that they do need help in areas that could be automated. So that's why it's always good to do like, discovery workshops within your organizations, sit with different business units and talk to different SMEs in order to understand what could be automated and what could be given to the robots versus what could be an agent and where this could be helpful. So in this case, like there are different industries that are being displayed, like the customer service industry handling different inquiries. So there doesn't have to be a human that has to answer all the queries every time, because you could have that knowledge base because the same question inquiry could come in 100 times a day and you could have this 7 days a week. So if that is the case, that could be given to the agent because you've already built that knowledge base All you need to do is like build your prompt, build your knowledge base, like help your agent go through that cycle of like perception, reasoning, and taking the action. Because this cycle will help your agent understand that these inquiries are repeated and this is the same answer, or like these are the different variations of answer that I could give. So in the case of customer service, like all you're doing is like reducing that response time and also like relieving that human from just making answering only simple queries. So this way the agents can provide like 24/7 support versus the human can take actions on other more valuable questions. Because like another customer could have like a more important, like very detail oriented help that he needs. That's where like the person, the humans could be involved versus like relieving yourself from very basic questions or inquiries into the agents. And when it comes to healthcare, every time we all go to like doctor's office, we spend a lot of time in the waiting. What if you could automate all of that and analyze these patient data? Because every time somebody gets a test result, you'd have to wait for the doctor. But what if an agent could handle that? Because these medical diagnoses are basically like helping based on certain parameters that's like always repeated. Because even doctors, they go through the medical school that have these specific rules that they follow. So that could help the doctors cut their time in half in order to help the patients that really need like more attention and more help. This could really help like all the medical professionals in order to help their patients and also reduce the wait time of the patients, like making them wait in and anxiousness and like waiting to know what the result is. That could really help out, saying that this is an agent based answer and definitely the doctor has to approve. That's where the human comes in and verifies whether that is true or not. And again, in other industries like legal, identifying like hot documents, like basically providing like an easier answer in terms of layman terms. You could have an agent explaining like, okay, this is what this term means. Or like if somebody receives a lot of legal notices, like explaining like in layman terms that this is what it means, so that they could get the right kind of attention and the response that they need, and that they could seek the right kind of help. And this really helps people to like like not just spend hours and hours of going through this paperwork. That's where like the agents could step in and really help out the people there. And in terms of HR, we use that a lot in our PA as well, because right now we are like, using a robotic process automation to do like onboarding and like, performing actions where you're like, setting up their systems, setting up their mailbox or like any other system access. All of that is tackled by the robot. But what if you could help the HR with also the recruitment? What if like you could help the HR identifying whether this candidate fits this profile or not? And whether like reaching out and in a timely manner so that the resource could like hold off on whether accepting the job and whether we could want to onboard that resource. And also like with candidate screening, it's really really helpful when you can identify what skill set is required for this job. If you could train your agent into identifying what your job description is, and based on that like identifying what type of skill set. And this will really help also in like scheduling the meetings, because if there are 100 people that are applied, you want to make sure that like you have sent out at least the meeting invites for interviews for a certain number of people. All those are areas where the HR could benefit from relieving that manpower and using agents instead to help answer those questions. Because I have seen myself like especially with interviews, there are candidates that would like reach out to the HR nonstop and like ask questions like, when do I hear back, when do I hear back, or like what is the result, or like knowing like what kind of skill set do I need, or can I negotiate salary. So those are areas you could like give it to the agent, but when it comes to like making decisions, that could be like where the human in the loop could come in, and the HR could take their own actions in order to get the right candidates. And speaking of financial services, giving like financial advice or like even having any fraud deduction is a very important skill in today's world, because knowing that there is so much going on with the cyber attacks, especially with finance industry. It's always helpful to have an agent to identify whether you have like fraudulent activity or it's a very reasonable activity, and notifying the humans at the right point in time, it's very critical. And having automated trading, I know like traders use it a lot. There are a lot of AI tools that are available, but if you could have an agent, if you're day trading, knowing like when to sell a call or a put option, or when to really buy things, those are really key areas that could play a significant role in financial services. And when it comes to marketing, obviously there's a lot of like AI tools that are available for like cold outreach emails, or like making event campaigns, or like made analyzing how your campaign is going. Like the attribution analysis is another area where the agents could really help out. And lastly, we're going to talk about the supply chain industry, where, most of the industries that we work on always has this inventory management, or like understanding the demand, because there are lots of like LLM models that you could use to predict the demand, at least like basically understand where your inventory is, and managing that inventory is very key. And optimizing those in real time, which is where the agents could come in and really help out. So I would love to hear your thoughts on knowing like what industry you work on, and where do you see these agents being used as well. So if you do have some ideas, absolutely, please feel free to share. And we're almost at the end, and I'll show you this. So within the UiPath platform, these are resources that we normally use. So if you're new to the UiPath community, please feel free to use the Academy, the forum, because the Academy is where you get like all the free resources, where you could learn about any new topic. Even with agentic automation, there will be courses very soon that'll be publicly available. And with the forum is a great area where everybody could post their question. And I always say there's no such thing as a silly question. So if you're stuck anywhere, feel free to ask that. And knowing that you're already in this meeting, you probably went through the UiPath community, which is where you could sign up for any of the virtual events that are happening. And I will also show you, just a second. So any questions from the chat so far?
Yes, I'll start at the beginning. So Val has a question, which is, what is the best practice to creating prompts that is easy for agent to interpret and ensure that they do exactly what you need them to do?
So that's a great question. So when it comes to prompt engineering by itself, it's its own, it's a very key niche industry that's like, coming up. And I would say like for your specific process, it depends on how your prompts need to be defined. So I could show you a simple example on how this needs to be, and you could use like a similar prompt if that's okay. So just a second, let me pull that up as we speak. So some of the key indicators, like, like let me share my screen in just a second. So with UiPath, it's always like very easy to learn. So that's one key thing. So like I said, the marketplace is a great place to start. So I'm going to show you a very simple like prompt that you could probably use in your agent as well. This prompt is basically for analyzing your customer feedback. So this is already built by UiPath, and this is already available. It works very well with your Gen AI activities. So if you've used the Gen AI activity package, you could usually add this to the system prompt or the user prompt. And so one of the guidelines, let me show you this really quick. for the specific analysis, for the specific prompt, is making sure that you use the right language. Okay, ensure that the accurate language detection, and especially for like very similar language, is available, and also provide the high quality translation that you would need if you're using, because this is all natural language processing. And when it comes to capturing nuances and idioms, because there are phrases that you would use on a colloquial term, but when it comes to the robot, you need to make sure that those are phrased, or with the agents, you need to make sure that those are phrased correctly. And making sure that this prompt is able to perceive that the intention for your process. Because like I said, this is basically an algorithm that does the first stage is perception. So for it to be able to see, perceive, and understand, you need to make sure that the context is given and the language is very specific to that process. Because let's say you have an invoice processing, and then you provide a prompt right there to say like, find me this candidate with this skill set, so that doesn't like apply to the specific context. So when it comes to prompts, making sure that you have like the exact key phrases that are more relevant to that specific customer or that specific process, so that they can have a better user experience. And making sure that being very specific in order to be able to understand that intent, because that's what the perception is going to do. It's going to see, read, and understand. In order for it to understand, the intent needs to be very clear, instead of like giving like very vague language. So that's a very key thing. And like a key difference that they say that between this specific prompt and using agents and robots, is that like with robots we define every single step or every single rule that the robot needs to go through, but with agents you can just specify the goal based, and that goal needs to be for your specific process. So just make sure that the intention for your prompts are being clearly defined.
Great, thanks, Priya. The next question is, can you provide a few examples of agents working in finance and supply chain areas?
Yes. So, like I showed here, so some of the examples that are currently there, and there are like thousands of use cases that you could apply, right? So let's say with finance, I used to work in a midstream industry where, like we had several different processes where accounts receivables, accounts payable, and the special cash accounting team would all like, be sharing the same. So it was like basically passed from one place to another, but which is where like there was a person from the cash accounting that had to coordinate between the accounts receivables and the accounts payable in order to get the same reports. So that's an area where I see, like that person could be doing like other more important tasks versus like, just collecting reports or uploading to the specific SharePoint for their ERP tool, if you wish. So in that case, I feel like any of those areas where you feel the manual effort is like very lightly needed, where they could be like focusing on something else, those are areas that could be given to the agents. So in this case, like personalized financial advice, that's a very nice topic, because if you've seen online, there are lots of tools now that provide you this financial literacy in order for you to make like smart investments. I know like those are based on the data that has been collected over a period of time. So depending on your specific process, I would say like take that based on the agent's advice, and also still take the human in the loop advice as well. Because like especially for the financial advice, for very minimal things, that's very useful. Saying like, okay, how do I get my like a withdrawal done, or like updating the contact, those could be easily handled with an agent. But when it comes to like like which area or which sector do I need to invest, I would say like in that case, use the human in the loop, make sure you set up an appointment, and like you have uh, specified for your specific need tailored advice. So areas within financial services are endless, because there are very simple questions. We all use, if you're using Bank of America, I use they basically use an agent called Erica, And that Erica basically provides you with the information, if you want balance or if you need to contact like investments, it basically gives you all the very basic information. The trivial data is given there. Okay. But if you want like, additional step, you can build your own agent for that specific process. So whenever you look at an agent, take a step back at your process and see like where you could fit in that agent. So there are lots of areas where the agents could fit in. And in supply chain, like I said, inventory management is very huge. And, using any ERP tools or, using leveraging the pipelines or like deal management or, like finding the vendor management, all of that could be given to agents. And, like making sure that the communication is also handled by an agent. So you could have multiple agents working for a single process as well. Hope that helps.
That was great. And then the next one is, if we have an idea on how we can use agentic AI, who should we talk to and address this? What is the process? How do proposals go from idea to implementation, assuming there must be an approval process? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. So, Christina, to answer your question, I don't know what kind of industry that you work with. So, if you do have specifically, it depends on your role as well. If you're working on the IT side, I would say like work with your COE, the Center of Excellence team, and see like what they have in pipeline and what could be done as robots versus like agents. And if you're on the business side, if you're working with your business or whatever specific core, the subject matter expert that you are, you need to take a look at like what could be, automated using the agentic AI. So those are, areas. That's why I say like process discovery workshops are very important to understand like what process could I really easily, take it up and make it into an agent versus like a robot. So just take a step back and, talk to your center of excellence or your, like any business unit owners, or like, product managers who are working with it and identifying what's the pain point, because you need to first define what's your goal. What are you trying to solve? So that's a very key role. And pretty soon, like I know, like the Agentic Summit is about to happen in the following month. So feel free to like, sign up for that, because you could get a lot of ideas from, the use cases that will be presented in the summit. And that's an area, I think it's happening on March 25th. So please sign up for that. And if you do have questions, also like sign up for the insider portal where you could preview the agent builder and also the agentic orchestration, because the agent builder gives you free templates that you could look at, like how you could build some of these templates out and what could be used. So those are areas that's a great way to start. And again, like keep in mind that you need to first define your goals in order to like build your agent. I wouldn't do it the other way around just to try out agents. I want to pick a process, because that will eventually lead into crashing your POC, you know, because it's always good to pick a process that fits the need. All right.
Perfect. Yeah, and I put a few links in chat just so people know where to go to get the things that Priya talked about. And then the next question is, can you show a few examples of prompts that are used in an agent?
Sure. So again, I would go to the marketplace, because that's a great place to start. Because if you're new to, like new to prompt engineering or new to, using the agentic AI, this is a great place to start, because these are like user prompts that you could easily give out, and you could see like what the response comes in. Let me show you. I'm trying to share my screen. Sorry. Okay, hope y'all can see my screen.
I can see it.
Awesome. So here, if you go to, the Asian catalog, you could pick one of the prompts that are already written out. So in this case, it's for the localization for product descriptions. This basically, helps in locally creating the locally relevant, engaging products, and that could resonate with your international audience. So that way you keep the core essence of your product itself. So this is a very simple prompt. So here's your user prompt that has an example right here. So in English, they do have a prompt that says, our revolutionary sneakers provide cloud-like comfort for your feet. So these are prompts that are given for that specific product, okay? And that basically like identify, okay, like what type of prompt is this and what type of like, whether it could be used in like e-commerce or like any other industries as well. So you could just basically copy this prompt and add it to your agent and incorporate in your agent builder as well. And I'll probably show you a quick sneak peek. Hold on just a second. My system's like So I'll just probably show you a quick preview of what's available with the agent builder as well. And again, this is not currently publicly available yet because if you sign up for the insider preview portal, then you could like get access to it. Right now, it's in the private preview where people are testing and the product is being worked on. So as you can see, there are templates that are already given for your agents, and you could build based on the template, or you could build your own agent right from scratch. So whenever we create, let's say, like a new agent, so basically what it does is it gives you like these three areas where you design your agent and then you provide your evaluation and the traces as well. So it basically gives me like the system prompts that are already given and also the user prompt. And here's where you could add your tools like the action center or like, like any of the other agents or other AI tools that you would like to add. And also it provides the context. So which is where like context is very important in order to make sure that this specific agent works on your process specific goals as well. So this is a very simple example of like, what are the different agents that we have within the UiPath. And again, like this is just in private preview as of now. It will definitely be available in the upcoming months.
Right. So Priya, I don't think this is quite related, but we need it in document processing, receipt, invoice. So I don't think you need agentic builder, although when you're looking at ways to build agents for receipts, invoices, then obviously that would apply, correct?
Yeah, so I'm not sure your question, Prasad. So if you want to do like invoice or receipt processing, I would highly recommend using the document understanding product because that's really useful and helpful in order to process. I think like agents would come into play when you need to like, identify or like interact with different types of systems or like making sure that the agent sends out these invoices. So it would not be just for processing the invoices, it would be like for where does the invoices fit in your business process? What do you do with those invoices? Like, like post processing steps that could be like given to an agent to say, like, okay, if it's this type of invoice, upload it to your SharePoint, or if it's a certain type of invoice, send it back to the vendor and say, like, fill out this information and I need this back. So
Yeah.
hopefully that helps clarify.
Hello, Priya.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we receive different kinds of receipts from the employees that they submit for the reimbursement process, and these employees travel to different countries and they go to different restaurants. So, uh, as international receipts are involved, we receive receipts of different languages as well.
That's
And
fantastic.
yeah, and the process is like they upload it in a particular portal. and the bot has to, as of now, we are using the queue-based triggers. Whenever there are some new invoices, the bot triggers automatically, and anyway, we are using the document understanding process. We are processing them, but if we can change it to the agentic framework, and the agent can, and because sometimes when the when they do not provide the sufficient information, we have to send it to the manual queue for asking for the more information from the client. If we place agents there, it can do it automatically, right?
In your specific scenario, it sounds like you could still achieve it with the document understanding and action center, because like based on like like different language or the semantics or the missing data, you could still perceive. But if you want to try like agentic automation for that, yeah, you're more than welcome to try it. But I think you could still achieve it with the existing product, which is the document understanding, and you could use the action center to send out saying that like you are missing this information, and once they upload like or like provide the missing data or the missing piece of it, then you could still process it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Priya.
Sure. But that was a great question and a great scenario.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah,
And
just
Ashley, yeah,
just
Dana.
one more comment. I could see it being helpful in customer service too, with exemptions when a bot is trying to key new orders, loops, in reps when it makes sense.
Exactly. That's a great scenario, Ashley, because where we talked about the customer service, because these agents could be available 24/7. And if there are exceptions, exemptions where the bot needs to like make new orders, it can definitely like notify using the Action Center or Slack or any of the ways to connect with the human, in order that so that the next morning that the human comes in, they can just like take it up with the customer, so that the next step of the process still goes along and the agent still keeps on like helping everybody in need. So that's a great example.
And that's all I have. Priya.
Awesome. So I know Diana has shared a lot of links here, so please feel free to sign up for that Agentic Summit, because that's one big summit that's gonna have like all the different AI series. Like they will have like all the different use cases and multiple sessions as well. So if you have time, please register, and if you cannot attend it, at least watch the recordings, so that way you have like more understanding about the product and the platform itself, and see like how this can drive your agentic AI journey.
Yeah, is that link available in this chat or somewhere else we need to check that?
Yeah, so Diana has shared this here. I'll just copy it and post it on the chat again. Oh, no, hold on. I'll probably
Which
yeah.
one? Just the UiPath one? I can add it.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna send the agentic AI agentic summit.
Yeah,
Yes. So
okay.
it's in the chat, Deepak, so feel free to definitely like sign up.
Yeah, here, I'll just put it in here.
There we go. I think we both got it, Diana.
Okay, perfect. You can sign up twice.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I also put in chat the other sessions that are coming up for Women in Automation, where you'll learn about other tools and places and things that are happening. And I think Priya mentioned there's a lot coming up very soon. So the March 25th is the kickoff. And I think I would definitely attend that. It's going to be the event of the month for sure. So definitely register for that.
Yeah, and from this series itself, the Women in Automation series, we have a couple of sessions that are lined up. So please feel free to sign up for the next couple of sessions as well. So the next one that's coming up with the document understanding, I know Prasad, you asked me for that question. So this will be a very great tool for you as well. So please make sure that you sign up for this one, because this is going to show you the Gen AI activities and like how we can like actively learn as well. And on Thursday, we have an amazing session with Tracy on future proof your career. So that's going to show you like how many different avenues we have, the career choices, and the different trainings and certifications that are available for you with the AI options as well. So I'm very excited for that one. And on 19th, we also have the career development and leadership with automation. So that's an amazing tool. I know people want to move up in their career. So this is a great guidance to get some key points on understanding how you could move up and make sure that you land in a leadership position in automation as well. So that'll be a really nice ideology there. And also on March 26th, we have an amazing insights into the career automation and the agentic future, because I know like very soon, like we all will have multiple agents. We need to know like where this roadmap is going to take us. So this is another great tool. And I know we had to transition and upskill ourselves into like new avenues. So these are some of the great sessions that you could definitely sign up for.
Priya, where can we find these links? Sorry, again, where can
Oh,
they
sure.
find these links?
Yeah, I'll
Uh,
put it in the chat again. It's under the AI series. So give me just a minute. I'm gonna grab it. And then you can just register for each one of these sessions individually, and you can get a calendar reminder sent to you. So let me just put this here. You can just click on that Woman in Automation 2025, and it should take you right to where you need to go.
Yep, got it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And also make sure that you join the chapter, so that way any future sessions that are happening, you will also be notified of the sessions.
Yeah, for sure. And do you need a RSVP to get the recordings? Yes.
Yes.
Please register for the sessions. If you can't make it, you can always listen to the recordings later, but it's important that you register. Thank you.
And always remember, like each session that you go to, you get like some key contacts as well. So also networking within the UiPath community helps build your knowledge. So that way you're just not focusing just on your industry, you would also get insights from other industry experts as well.
Right.
So that's it from us. And thank you so much for joining our session. I know like we did we did a very short session today. So we'll be happy to give you back like 10 minutes.
That's
Diana?
yeah. Thank you so much, Priya. Great session, great video, and really beautiful slides. Those are brand new out of the gate. I know that for a fact. So, you guys are getting the latest and the greatest, and you're going to continue to get that this week and next, through these sessions. We're so excited you joined, and we're looking forward to seeing you again this week. And with that, we'll leave and just look forward to getting the recording. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.